Hello, everybody. This is Gary Matheny. Thank you for joining me today at the Liberty Observatory on YouTube. I suppose if you'd like, you could like and subscribe. But since I'm such a man of liberty, I'll not try and get you to do it unless you want to do it. I'm hoping in the weeks and months ahead to improve the technology. If you haven't observed thus far, I am a technical dimwit. I just didn't have a lot going on for me on that side of the brain. But I did have a natural curiosity about things, and I love words. But my curiosity is bent more towards philosophy and religion and history along that vein. So instead of adding another episode to the subject of liberty, I have over the last several weeks started to answer questions that have been asked of me, and offering to give my opinion. And today's question is, do I believe in miracles? Do I believe in miracles? Well, first of all, we have to come to some type of terms as what a miracle is. You know, what is the meaning of the word miracle? Well, you can go to your dictionary online, and you can look up several different definitions of the word miracle. And the first is a surprising and welcome event that is inexplicable. A surprising and welcome event that is inexplicable. And inexplicable basically means that you can't explain it. And it's just a surprising and welcoming event that comes out of nowhere or comes out of the heavens. Wherever it comes, it's inexplicable. Another definition is miracle is an improbable or extraordinary event. An improbable or extraordinary event. And so this second definition allows for the possibility that it could be explicable, it could be explained, but it is still an improbable event and an extraordinary event, nothing that you expect to see in the ordinary course of living. A third definition is an amazing product or achievement, an amazing product or achievement. And so in 1980, they had the Miracle on Ice. And those people that are hockey fans know what I'm referencing. In 1980, the U.S. hockey team won the gold medal in the Olympics. And when it's put in context, it truly is an unexpected and extraordinary event, a miracle that was on ice. And the reason that it was so extraordinary is that was a time before you had professional athletes from the United States participating in the Olympics. In other words, what happened on the U.S. team was that a bunch of college kids were gathered together, tryouts were had, and a team was assembled pretty quickly because they came from different colleges, different universities, and maybe a couple of the players were just playing, independent league hockey in Canada somewhere. And so basically they put a team together and beat the Soviet team. And at that time, Soviet Union put a great deal of stress upon its athletics, including and especially hockey. And so they had professional hockey players, professional in the sense that they were all seen to be virtually employed by the Soviet military. And so they were employed by the Soviet military, and their job was what? To play hockey. So they essentially were professional. And Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, produced tremendous hockey players and still produces great hockey players that, when they come to the United States, exceed at an exceptional level. And so a bunch of college boys who were thrown together, amateurs all, beat the vaunted Soviet Olympic team. So that's why it's called Miracle on Ice. But let's not limit the terms of miracle to a few of the references we made today. Let's add biblical miracles. So what type of biblical miracles are we talking about? Well, we can have a very long list of biblical miracles. One would be Jesus turning the water into wine. Another one would be Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. A third would be Jesus' resurrection. And a fourth, we can go back to the Old Testament and say the 10 plagues that were placed upon Egypt and God's deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt. And so there are more miracles in the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament, than you can shake a finger at. And so what part do they play in the midst of everything, and how many of them are actually legitimate? Well, we'll visit that question a little bit while later, but right now we want to talk about one of the earlier definitions I gave, and that is a surprising welcome event that is inexplicable, a surprising welcome event that is inexplicable. And so in some respects, science makes the inexplicable explicable. It makes it explainable. And so let's take, for instance, Halley's Comet. So I think science kind of understands a lot about comets, and so it's pretty explainable. But if you would have gone back to the 19th century or before, people saw Halley's Comet flying through the sky, and they would think it was a miracle of some type. You know, it's amazing, this comet flying through the sky, and it wouldn't be too explainable because people didn't have a firm grasp on what it was going on from a scientific perspective. And so now maybe science has explained comets. And so it's no longer inexplicable, but explainable, and therefore no longer a miracle. But actually, if you look at science, there are more questions being asked as we go along. And so maybe science come to a conclusion about A, B, or C, but then they're opening the door to X, Y, Z. And a couple of these things that still need to be explored and understood more fully relates to the questions or the miracles associated with the development of science. I'm not saying science is a miracle. I'm saying that they ask a lot of questions that seem to go unanswered. For instance, the theory of relativity, or the string theory, or quantum physics. So I saw something a couple years ago on some program on cable that basically came to the conclusion that theory of relativity and string theory don't match up. You would think that if they were very, very strong theories, and strong theories at some point over time should become factual, but not necessarily, because a lot of things stay in the realm of theory forever and a day, and I'm not saying that's wrong. But anyhow, the two theories don't complement each other, which you would think that they would come together if they were in fact factual. And then if you throw in quantum physics in the midst, and it seems like that science is asking more questions than providing answers the more you delve into it. So on the surface of things, you think science is providing answers only, when the more they delve into something, the more questions that seem to arise. And so think about life. They still don't have a really strong answer as to how does life start. They don't know how it first started. It's a miracle, the miracle of life. Maybe they'll keep poking at it and come up with some explanation, but will it simply rest in the theoretical realm rather than in the factual realm? So the miracle of life exists even in the scientific realm. Or how about turning it a little bit more philosophical and dig a little deeper into that and try and answer the ultimate question that every human being faces in one form or another during their life, and that is, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? In some respects, it's a miracle. It's inexplicable. It's almost untouchable. Maybe you can reach it by faith, but you can't reach it through the power of the intellect. And so science actually, if you think on the surface, science allows for a very narrow definition of miracle, and basically says, there really aren't any miracles. At least some scientists would say that. Others, understanding the complexity of both micro and macro, miraculous. It is miraculous that we are here today talking into this phone and posting information on YouTube. How did we get here? It is truly miraculous. So actually, science allows for a broad definition of miracles. So let's also go to an improbable or extraordinary event, which does which does allow for the explainable. It's just an improbable or extraordinary event, and I talked about Halley's Comet. It's an extraordinary event, particularly in the realm of pre-scientific understanding of comets. It was just, wow, it lit up the sky, miraculous. Now they think they have it explained, not so miraculous, but still, it is an improbable or extraordinary event. It is an extraordinary event. So Halley's Comet, under that definition, is still a miracle. But how about another improbable or extraordinary event from my life? And that is when I was 8 years old, I almost performed an unassisted triple play. Now, triple plays are very, very rare. But if you do an unassisted triple play, you have done something amazing that's improbable and extraordinary. What happened was I was playing center field, and the bases were loaded. You got to remember, you're dealing with 7 and 8 year olds, and the bases were loaded, and a batter hit the ball to short center field. I run in. I catch the ball. That's out number 1. My momentum carries me into second base. I just ran into second base. That's out number 2 because the base runners were running. Remember, very unsophisticated, 8 years old. So I got an unassisted double play. I'm standing there on second base, and I noticed that my third baseman was not covering third base. He, 8-year-old kid, didn't know what to do. He was just watching the game, I guess. And I noticed that the runner on third base was standing at home. And so I'm standing on home, and he's standing on home, I'm standing on second base, and we both look at each other. And we both figure out what we need to do at the same time, and that is get to third base. So he has to run back to third base, and I have to run to third base because my third baseman's not helping me. So we both sprinted to third base, and he beat me by half a step, and he was safe. But to put a cherry on the ice cream, so to speak, they brought me in to pitch, and I struck out the last batter. So how improbable and inexplicable is an unassisted triple play? There may have been a few in the history of the major leagues, but I came that close. And that's when, frankly, the life of Gary Matheny peaked. It was all downhill after that. All right, so let's switch a little bit here to the biblical miracles. And what the Bible really demands of us is to believe by faith. We're asked to believe by faith. In one part of the book of Hebrews, it says, by faith we believe God created. By faith we believe that. And furthermore, it says that the just shall live by faith. If you want to be justified in the eyes of God, live by faith. And so if the Bible expresses certain miracles, we believe them by faith. And the question is, does that pass scientific muster? Maybe not in and of itself, but take a couple of other things into consideration. And that is unrefuted biblical accounts of miracles. You would think that somebody would have said in antiquity, some historian, some social observer would have said it didn't happen, that this whole idea about Jesus turning water into wine at the wedding didn't happen. But there's so much that is unrefuted in the biblical accounts. In fact, I think Jesus allowed for this type of commentary when it comes to the miraculous. And so let's just go very briefly to John chapter 10, verse 37 and 38. This is what he says: if I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. So he's basically saying, if I didn't do these things, don't believe me. Verse 38, but if I do, though ye believe not me, believe the works. In other words, you may not believe his claims alone, but then if you believe his works, you're left with his claims. And so here was a challenge in some respects to refute his miraculous. Refute the miraculous. And the refutation never came. Then furthermore, it says, second part of verse 38, that ye may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. And so he set forth his own challenge to believe his works. So many works went unrefuted. He challenged people whether to believe or not. They went unrefuted. So there's a lot of miraculous acts in the Bible which give rise to hope in people that believe. And so here is the essence of believing in miracles. When you believe in miracles, you believe that hope springs eternal. And if you have a life where hope springs eternal, you're never defeated. You're never underground, because even death itself can't hold you. Because we join in with Christ with the resurrection of the dead. So yes, I believe in miracles, and you should too, so that hope will spring eternal in you. Thank you very much.